other thing is, there's another thing you can do is mandatory declassification. If it's gone past its a number of things in the military are actually prior systems to Reagan had a declassification date, and so if it hasn't been declassified, you can ask for a review so it can be declassified.
Yeah, I was stricly Reagan.
Reagan just did this. Reagan was after the Pentagon Papers. Reagan just did this. Everything that's done during my administration and afterwards, it's classified forever. Now, if you don't need it, destroy it.
I did say that.
And if you have any question about whether it's declassified or not, the guy that made the thing up, you contact him and say, "Is this still classified?" And he will determine whether it's classified or not. 'Cause that's what they had with the Pentagon Papers. There were a lot of documents that shouldn't have been classified that were, and the expert at the Pentagon, when they had the trial, they had him look at some documents and he said, "I don't know if these are classified or not." So Reagan put that policy into effect, which is very simple.
Yeah, we actually trained people in my era of time, even though I got in '67 with the Advisory Council and doing this with NASA and out of Washington and the intelligence communities. 50 years putting the pieces together, I finally realized why I was telling people that I was classifying it, and why people that had clearances and were making sure they protected clearances would ask me who I was, because I could come on and get an instant clearance. So I soon learned that the people that classify the documents carry a lot of weight, Jan. But you had to be trained, right? And so one of the silly things was what you just said exactly during the Reagan era, because I had to tell some guys that had it, and I was working with all the embassies around the world to one guy tear it up and flush it down the commode. And I was like, "Are you serious? We do that?" So there's a lot of truth to these stories that the people know. I wonder if that's going to come out too, because there's a lot of good stories of people that were prior military, whether they're really willing to share them or not, right, Jan? So what do you think about us getting an auxiliary going with Thomas Becker and Ken R. Johnston? Do you think that's a good idea for people like you and me? Well, if we start putting all the puzzle pieces together, we might find out why some things we have and some things we don't, and then we find what you guys are doing. I mean, we may wind up being a pretty good organization before we leave the planet, so to speak, as old guys. What do you think, Jan?
Well, I'm just, like I said, my main thing is preservation right now.
Good.
And I figure that'll take me till I'm in the ground. So I can't start a lot of
new projects.
Now, within preservation, I think there's a lot of things, like I told you about those 1,100 intelligence products I'd like to see. A lot of them are known to be UFO related. Some of them are, maybe. I mean, I know about this one intelligence report that said unknown sightings over Greenland, January 1947. Well, that just screams UFOs if you think about it. But when we actually got the material in the document, it was nothing. It was nothing about UFOs. It was just an interesting about sightings on the ground and in the air over Greenland. They were like aircraft, or people saw contrails, or they saw submarines or something like that. So that's what that report contained. And then some innocuous report with a title that doesn't sound anything like UFOs may contain UFOs, like incidents occurring during weather reconnaissance flights over the Atlantic. Okay, so
yeah,
I got a series of those reports and started looking through them, and these guys were encountering UFOs all the time, and they never made it to Blue Book.
That's so interesting. So you're willing to work on anything that's come into your foresight or your knowledge of information as far as preservation. And I would like to have the things of people that worked like me in a vault, or this guy, Bob Dean, his story, because I know of the people in the intelligence community that never were known in the military. Matter of fact, the military was our cover, if you know what I mean.
Let's see, when we went to pick up our products, I won't tell you what they are, but when we went to pick up our products, what there's this guy with a beard, and he looks like a German hippie, and
intimidate.
He looks like a German hippie. He doesn't look like any, one of these peace guys.
Okay.
And he's driving a laundry van. It's a laundry van, and his assistant there. I mean, he just looks like he's one of these guys that they couldn't hurt a fly. And then the other, the woman there, now she was a young woman, and in the summertime at least, she never wore any shoes. So we get a call, meet us over by 3rd Division headquarters. We got a shipment for you. So we go over there, and the first time these guys came out there, I said, how the hell did these people get on this compound? And then we found out who they were and what they were there for. And they felt USARA decided that they just blend in as look like German civilians that are driving a laundry truck around.
Yeah, there's all kind of levels of the government that people don't realize, but usually somebody will know. And I know that President Reagan didn't know all of it, but he was informed of some of it. But they have the intelligence communities, right? Not to mention the what we call the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower told us about. There's a lot to that, isn't it? It's changed history. So we'll have to do this some more. But Jan, you and Barry are doing a great job, and we need a whole lot of people like you to get the history, because anything after, like you said, Reagan, which I was in that era, and unless you guys worked in vault and saw how the entire world worked together as the Allied command, you may think just because you were in a uniform and you know your job, you may have been doing a job as a cover for something that was really going on, not to mention the intelligence behind it. We had a lot of dog and pony shows, which are still happening in politics. But unless you're in that level of intelligence or you've been chosen to work that kind of stuff, you don't know about it, And I was fortunate enough to be chosen and groomed from the time I was a little kid to go through all these different groups and countries and learn how it all put together for this reason, I think. Jan, I really think that I was supposed to talk to you. My name's Jan, and Bruce Maccabee's wife is Jan, and then there's Jan Harzan. So Jan Harzan runs MUFON. I'm doing this, whatever, for ACIR, for ACO and UFO, And Barry's been doing this for his group and you for your group and KUFUN and bringing all these acronyms together. I believe something bigger than us is probably in charge of putting us all together, because if we don't do it, we're going to lose the history. Now, what do you think of Richard Dolan, real quick? Do you think he's a true historian and did the best he could with the time he had? Because he's a young feller. Any opinion?
Well, I liked his, in his book he had the timeline.
Okay, so you like the history.
I like the timeline. So George Everhart went ahead and refined that timeline, so almost unrecognizable for. I don't think Dolan would recognize it now, but he refined the timeline with a lot of other events and references, and he let me see it, and I said, "Geez, I'd like to use that for an update." And he said, "Well, go ahead and use it." And so I've got the third generation, somebody else working on it. So that I thought that his timeline, it was a good idea, and it was a start. So I'll say that is a useful tool.
Well, we're going to follow your lead, Barry Greenwood and Jan Aldrich, folks, historians, archivists, ufologists. They're also going to help us, I hope, with who's who, and then Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, the new Air Force Space, NASA, civilians, post office workers. Don't go postal on us, folks. We're trying to do the part of we're open-minded, but we're all good folks. We're going to try to get all these associations and find out what they want to do, and maybe we can split up the work. Not all of us can be the boots on the ground. Some of us got to be up there in space, but if we work together, maybe we can accomplish both. Barry Greenwood and Jan Aldrich, I hope we'll have you back, and that you don't mind being a couple of the volunteer people that tell other people how to do it, because you've been there, done that, got that T-shirt. How about that? I'll get you one even. I'll buy you one. Jan Aldrich, Barry Greenwood T-shirt. Let's see, J.A. and B.G. Sort of like the Bee Gees. You guys don't play music, do you?
No.
Well, you think after you guys get off of this mission or this project that you can make some notes on how to do it, make sure we keep up the basics like index, get the links of all the people you guys know, give me some names of who's who, and I'll do the typing. I'm going to be your virtual assistant and start typing those things in. And if they'll pull up, if you guys are willing to pay for your own domains and have an RSS feed attached, it'll pull up, like my radio, the last few radio shows I did, right? But I keep 300 on file on Spreaker, and I keep every one I've done for 7 years right here on Blog Talk. So Blog Talk's great for history, folks. We hope to get you guys back, Jan and Barry, and we'll be back here tomorrow night, folks, with Ken R. Johnston and Thomas A. Becker when they're trying to put together the ACO. Jan, can I have you and Barry back, you think, when you get back home? We can interview you from your homes?
Yeah, I see no reason.
All right,
yeah,
folks.
I'm fine with that.
Barry, you don't mind? Because you got a good voice.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it.
Remember to drop names, folks. They're going to be busy for 2 weeks. We can do this again next week before they leave, but if they say we don't want any oral history, we'll just get them when they get home and get a catch up on all the who's who. They'll have plenty of times to make names while they're sitting there next to each other and going, Barry, don't forget this person. And Jan, Barry, you say, Jan, don't forget this person. We got to drop names on that radio show. Who's who in ufology?
That's
All
right.
right, folks. Erica Luke's Revolution Radio, KCOR, KGR, whoever. Tune in to all our talk radio shows and look for Jan Aldrich and Barry